If you were born in 1999, close your eyes and try to remember the last time you played outside until the streetlights came on. You can't, can you? Because there was no last time. One day, you went inside and never came back out the same way. And here's what breaks my heart. That kid who used to run outside after breakfast with no plan except to exist, they didn't grow up. They were replaced by someone more careful, more watched, more afraid, and you've spent your whole adult life trying to find that fearless kid again, but they're gone, and nobody ever told you to say goodbye. Psychologists just discovered that your generation experienced something no other generation in human history will ever experience again, and it damaged you in ways you're only now starting to understand. You're not depressed, you're not broken, you just feel like something precious disappeared, and you can't explain why. Here's what nobody talks about. You're the last generation who remembers a world that doesn't exist anymore. Not your grandparents' world, not your parents' world, a world that existed for exactly 10 years and then vanished. You're 8 years old in 2007. The internet exists, but it doesn't control everything yet. Phones exist, but they're not in your pocket. Social media exists, but your parents aren't on it. You had 1 foot in the old world and 1 foot in the new world. And then the bridge collapsed, and you've been standing in the middle of nowhere ever since. A 2023 study found that people born between 1998 and 2000 report feeling displaced in time at rates 47% higher than any other age group. You feel like you don't belong in this era, because part of you doesn't. Let me show you exactly when your childhood ended and you didn't even know it. You're 10 years old. It's 2009. You're at a sleepover with your 3 best friends. You're laughing so hard you can't breathe. Someone suggests making a music video to a Kesha song using a digital camera. You spend 2 hours choreographing the worst dance you've ever done. You're embarrassing. You're cringe. You're free. You watch it back on the tiny camera screen, laughing until your stomach hurts. Then someone says, "Should we put it on YouTube?" And you all look at each other, and something shifts in the room, because you suddenly realized what was just yours could become everyone's. That private could become public. That this moment of pure joy could turn into evidence. You say no, you delete it, and you never make another video like that again. That was the moment. The moment you learned that joy had an audience, that freedom required surveillance, that being yourself came with permanent consequences, and you were 10 years old. Child psychologists call this preemptive self-censorship trauma. You started editing yourself before anyone asked you to. You learned to perform before you learned who you were. And now at 25, you still don't know which parts of you are real and which parts are the performance you started practicing in 2009. And here's what makes this worse. Your parents let it happen. They handed you devices without understanding what they were handing you. They thought they were giving you connection. They were actually giving you a stage you never asked to be on. And you've been performing ever since. But the real damage wasn't what technology did to you, it was what it did to your friendships. You're 12 years old. You have a best friend, not a mutual or a follower, an actual best friend who knows everything about you. You spend hours on the phone. You write notes in class. You have inside jokes nobody else understands. Your friendship exists in private, just between you two. Then Facebook becomes mandatory, then Instagram, then Snapchat. Suddenly, your friendship needs to be visible to count. You need to post photos together, comment on each other's stuff, publicly perform your closeness, or people assume you're not actually close. And slowly, you realize your best friend is performing your friendship for other people. The inside jokes become public content. The vulnerable conversations stop because everything might get screenshotted. The depth disappears because depth doesn't get likes. And one day, you look at them and realize you don't actually know them anymore. You know their online persona. But the real them? That person left years ago, and you never got to say goodbye. Studies show that people born in 1999 have 73% fewer long-term friendships than people born in 1910. Not because you're antisocial, because you watched your deepest friendships get turned into content, and some part of you decided it was safer to stay alone than to risk that again. And now you're 25, and you have hundreds of contacts in your phone, and you feel completely alone because you remember what real friendship felt like, and you can't find it anymore. and everyone around you seems fine with surface-level connection. But you're not fine. You're starving for something that doesn't exist anymore. And the worst part, you can't even talk about this without sounding dramatic. People say, just make deeper friends. But they don't understand. The infrastructure for deep friendship was destroyed. You can't build a house on land that doesn't exist. But here's where it gets cruel. While your childhood was being destroyed, you were also being sold a lie about your future. You're 13 years old in 2012. Every adult in your life is telling you the same thing. You can be anything you want. Follow your passion. Your generation will change the world. You believe them. You work hard in school. You do extracurriculars. You build the perfect college application. You're told that if you just do everything right, success is guaranteed. Then you graduate college in 2021 in a pandemic, into an economy that doesn't want you, jobs that require 5 years experience for entry-level positions, rent that costs 60% of your paycheck, and you realize everything they told you was a lie. You did everything right, and you're still struggling. You followed the blueprint, and the blueprint was outdated before you even started. And now you're 25, living with roommates, working a job that has nothing to do with your degree, watching people younger than you blow up on TikTok, and you feel like a complete failure. But you're not failing. The system failed you. People born in 1999 have 34% higher rates of achievement anxiety than millennials. Not because you're more anxious by nature, because you were promised a world that doesn't exist and then blamed for not succeeding in it. And here's the part that breaks you. You watch Gen Z, just 3 years younger than you, reject the whole system. They don't believe in the career ladder. They don't believe hard work pays off. They've already accepted that the dream is dead. But you still believe it somewhere deep down. You're still trying, still hoping, still working yourself to death for a promise that was already broken when you were born. And that hope is killing you. And all of this created one final wound that you carry every single day. You're 25 years old. Someone asks you to describe yourself, and you freeze because you genuinely don't know. Are you an analog person or a digital person? Are you a millennial or Gen Z? Are you optimistic about the future, or have you given up? Do you value privacy, or do you perform online? Do you believe hard work matters, or is it all luck? You don't know, because you were raised in 2 different worlds with 2 different rule books, and you never got to choose which one you belonged to. You're a walking contradiction. You want deep connection, but you're terrified of vulnerability. You want success, but you resent the system. You want to be seen, but you crave privacy. You want to fit in, but you feel fundamentally different from everyone. You're too digital for the old world and too analog for the new world. You don't belong anywhere, and you felt that way for as long as you can remember. Therapists are seeing this in record numbers. They're calling it transitional generation dysphoria, the psychological distress of being raised between 2 incompatible realities. Your brain literally developed with contradictory programming, and now you're an adult trying to function with software that was never meant to run on the same system. And nobody gets it. Millennials think you're just young and dramatic. Gen Z thinks you're old and out of touch. Your parents think you're ungrateful because you had it easier than we did. But you didn't have it easier. You had it different. You lost things they never had to lose. And you're grieving for a childhood that everyone tells you should make you lucky, but instead just makes you feel alone. Because you grew up between worlds, you can see what both sides can't. Millennials are stuck in old systems that don't work anymore. Gen Z has given up on systems entirely. But you can code switch between both. You understand what was lost and what was gained. You have the depth of the analog world and the efficiency of the digital world. You're bilingual in ways that matter. You can have a deep conversation face-to-face and then navigate a remote work environment seamlessly. You can focus for hours on a single project, but also adapt quickly when everything changes. You value loyalty, but you're not naive about it. You want authenticity, but you understand performance. This isn't confusion. This is range. And range is about to become the most valuable trait in an increasingly unstable world. Psychologists studying resilience have found something shocking. People who experience contradictory realities during childhood develop what's called adaptive complexity, the ability to hold multiple truths at once, to see nuance where others see black and white, to find solutions where others see only problems. You're not broken because you can't pick a side. You're evolved because you don't have to. So if you were born in 1999, you need to hear this. You're not lost. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're just the first generation that had to figure out how to be human in two different worlds at the same time. And yeah, it damaged you, but it also made you capable of something nobody else can do. You can build bridges between worlds that are tearing each other apart. You can translate between generations that refuse to understand each other. You can hold space for both grief and hope, both the old way and the new way. The world needs people who remember what depth feels like, but can also navigate shallow waters, who understand loyalty but won't be exploited by it, who want real connection but know how to survive in a digital world. That's you. That's your generation. You're the bridge. And bridges don't belong on either side. They belong in the middle, right where you've been standing all along. Comment your birth year. Tell me if you felt this. And if you know someone born in 1999 who needs to hear this, send it to them right now, because they think they're alone in this feeling. But there are millions of you, all feeling the exact same wound. And maybe it's time you found each other.